Hi and welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. So as promised, I'm going to do creation stories or origins in this Pursuit of the Truth. This was after, well, the one that I recorded last time. It was after, was prompted by the Strictly Come Dancing, Motsi Mabuse, talking about African dances and their origins, which I forgot that time, but they were, but there's a few, but the ones I can remember offhand was some, was it jazz and jive? Or was it cha-cha-cha? I can't remember now. But you can research yourself. But yeah, so it got me interested in looking into origins of things and inventions and stuff that came from Africa. And then I was looking about, to do with creation stories. Trying to... Because they're always thinking, because we don't really know when you think about it. It's funny how we've lived all this time. Maybe it's an answer to a question we can never find of why we're here. Has it an importance? Well, I suppose it does have an importance if there was a reason why we're here. It could just be merely accidental, or it could be... that there is a God, as it were, that's created us to give us this taste of life, and does he want us to do what's best for each other or not? So yeah, it got me interested in looking at them. Obviously, most people will know creation stories from the Bible or the Quran and stuff that match. So I was looking and I came across this one, which it's apparently the oldest origin story. It's the Eridu Genesis. This was written in the 2nd century BCE by the Sumerians. Whilst it says this is from psu.edu. I'll share the link. This text was recorded in cuneiform tablet, from which 2/3 of it had been lost. Oh, that's a good start. Cuneiform is known to be one of the oldest forms of writing, where cuneiform simply means wedge-shaped. Ancient Sumerian scribes recorded their writings on stone and later on clay tablets. They were the first that we know of to do so. While the origins of Sumerians is unknown, it is said that they may have come from the east. There have been many hypotheses that seek to answer this mystery. The east of what? It's got a map here. I can see the Mediterranean Sea near Egypt by the looks of it. Okay. Let's see. What does this tablet say? Let's see if I can actually find it. Oh, the 4th story can be found here. So it says here that... let's read this bit first. Interesting, the translated Sumerian story is actually the oldest account of many ancient events that are most commonly thought as having originated from the Bible's Genesis. The Great Flood, the building of an ark that housed the seeds of mankind are both mentioned in the Eridu Genesis. And the story can be found here. Let's go on to that then. So there's lives.usg. The Eridu Genesis is written on a Sumerian cuneiform tablet. The missing parts can be reconstructed from the text of Sumerian kings List and Beresus. The creation of men, now lost. Oh, well, that's the one I was looking for. The miserable conditions, blah, 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 great flood. Funny how a lot of them talk about this great flood, huh? The creator goddess thinks about humankind. 1-9, Neutru note. Okay, large part lost, perhaps a story of failed attempt to build a city. Was paying attention. Let me bethink myself of my humankind, all forgotten as they are, and mindful of mine, Ninture's creature, let me bring them back. Let me lead the people back from their trails. Let they come and build cities and cult places. Let me put the glasses on. Oh, I can't see even those. That I may come myself in their shade. This doesn't really talk about creation, does it? Creation of kingship. I guess it's lost. Well, that was a good start. So that's the oldest and it's lost. So here's another one I was looking at. It was about 8 interesting African creation myths the world should know about. This one is the Yoruba of Nigeria. In the beginning, all that existed were the water. This is not a tablet, I assume this is someone paraphrasing. All that existed were the water, land, and sea, which were ruled by the Urun. Another god named Opatala went to Urun to ask if he could create land for the living things to exist. When he was granted permission, Urun visited Urumila, Urun's first son, to consult with him about his wish. It's very like Greek stuff, isn't it, this? I don't know any of this could be true. This is the Bongshongu on the Congo River. The Boshongu tell the story of a creator named Bumba. He made the skies, the sun and the moon. He also created the African cosmogony before he created human beings. The beings of the African cosmology all created one another. In addition, the beings of the African cosmology are not deemed more important than the human beings that came after them. And then it goes on to about suns. There's a lot about suns in this. Where's the rest of these? Next page. This is from Atlanta Black Star. I assume it's some article. The Zimbabweans. A creation myth for the Zimbabwe recognises Mondimio as the creator. He represented all things good, yet in the same breath he had the power to destroy things and bring about natural disasters and devastation. Okay, the Zulu of Southern Africa. Yunkulongkulu, the ancient one, grew from reeds or Euthalanga and brought with him people and cattle. Upon his own creation, he created the earth and all of its creatures. He taught the Zulu to make fire and provide food for themselves. He is the beginning of all creation. A part of him lives in everything he created. Some of them sound like alien stories, no? And maybe, like if an alien came and seeded this, or humankind existed somewhere else and came and dropped a few here. Sounds a bit like that. The creation myth of Lower Egypt. Ra, the sun god, arose from none, a chaotic body of water that was the only thing in existence. He independently gave birth to Shu, the god of air, and Tufnut, the goddess of water. They then produced Geb and Nut, the god of earth and the goddess of the sky, respectively. The first humans to exist were Ra's tears, but most of them were destroyed when they rebelled against him, similar to the Bible story of the fallen angel. Ra's resentment towards the earth led him to return to heaven and leave Shu to rule the earth. Nut and Geb soon married and gave birth to Osiris, Horus, Set, Isis, and Nephthys. Okay, what's next? I'm looking for one that actually sounds more realistic, but I probably wouldn't know, is it? Because no one really knows. The Akan of Ghana. Nana Nyema, the primary creator, lived in the sky, while Abrua and her children lived on earth. For some time they reached God by way of preparing food, but God was not fond of this practice, so he relocated to a higher sphere to create more distance. As a result, Abrua asked her children to build a tower out of mortars. When only one mortar was needed to reach God, she told her children to replace the mortar on top with the mortar of the bottom. This resulted in the tower collapsing and many of her children suffering. Oh dear. Is that an actual one? Imagine these must be millions of years old. The Berbers of North Africa. Before creation began, one man and one woman lived under the earth. Oh, this is a Hollow Earth one. They were unaware that they were different until the day they had a disagreement at the drinking well. When the woman insisted that she be the first to drink water, the man pushed her aside and she fell to the ground. The bottom of her garment rose up and she was exposed. When the man asked about her body, she said that it represented good. He stayed with her for 8 nights and they eventually gave birth to 50 sons and 50 daughters. Overwhelmed by the number of children they produced, they sent their children above ground, where they created mankind and expanded on earth. Okay. The Oromo of Ethiopia. Wagga, the creator, inhabited the sky and made sure to keep his distance from earth by way of a barrier of stars. He didn't believe in punishment, but he did believe in trickery and persuasion, he asked man to compose a coffin for him. When the coffin was complete, he trapped them inside and sent them to the flat earth. Ooh. He brought about a fiery rainy storm that lasted for 7 years and formed the landscape of the earth. When the earth was complete, he released man from the coffin, unharmed, and used his blood to create woman. After a while, 30 children were produced, but the man felt their wives had given birth to far too many. As a result, Waka took half of them and turned them into animals. Okay, interesting one. Oh, that's it. Did I read at 8? So obviously there's the religious creation stories. I don't know if I can find, let's say, Bible. Let's start with the Bible. There's some similarities between a lot of them. No, there's either the ones where, there's man and woman like Adam and Eve, or there's ones where they're in the God's in the sky and he doesn't really want to get involved. So obviously this is the Bible. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light was good, and God separated the light from darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. I wonder what words in Hebrew it has for those actual things. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day. And God said, "Let there be a dome in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." So God made the dome, and separated the waters that were under the dome from the waters that were above the dome. This is falling into the flat earth thing, isn't it? And it was so. God called the dome sky, and the evening, and there was morning the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the sky be gathered together in one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the water that were gathered, it would be interesting to know what word was used there in Hebrew. And the waters that were gathered together he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth be put forth vegetation, plants yielding seed, and trees, fruit trees of every kind on the earth that bear fruit with seeds in it." And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seeds of every kind, and trees of every kind bearing fruit with the seeds in it. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and then there was morning the third day. And obviously it goes on to creating animals and man. Interesting, the dome there, obviously. What's the Quran's creation story? Do we have one? Where is it? In the Quran, the heavens and the earth were joined together as one unit of creation, after which they were cloven asunder. After the parting of both, they simultaneously came into their present shape after going through a phase when they were smoke-like. The Quran states that the process of creation took 6 yom. In the Quran, the word yom, often translated to era, means a day. According to the Musafas, Islam acknowledges 3 different types of creation. Okay, let's see what we got. Ek Nilo, in time, a position especially held by most classical scholars. God existed alone in eternity until God's command be, kun. Thereupon the world came into existence. This world is absolutely distinct from God. Accordingly, the world was neither created out of his own essence, nor did God create the word out of a primordial matter which preceded the creation, but created his sheer command, not bound by the law of nature. Emanation, found especially among scholars such as Al-Farabi and Ibn Sina. Accordingly, the world was created out of nothing, but not in time. The world was eternal, but temporary in essence. Creation out of primordial matter, maintained by scholars such as Ibn Taymiyyah. God fashioned the whole world out of primordial matter, the water and the smoke. I thought it was in the Quran it's actually clay. Or is that man, maybe? creation of humanity. According to the Quranic creation narrative, God informed the angels that he was going to create a Khalifa, a vicegerent, I can never say that, on earth. The meaning of Khalifa holds different interpretations of the Islamic exegesis. Okay, so let's try Hindu. Are we getting any closer to the creation story? But a lot of similarities. The problem is obviously man wrote these down. How do we distinguish between what is man-made and what has actually happened? And I suppose the thing is, the oldest we can find, unfortunately it's lost, would be, I guess, the most, if it is truly oldest and is genuine, would be the most reliable. But I guess the thing is, if God created the earth and it took so many years before mankind evolved into being able to write, obviously there would be no one to have written down what happened because it's a long time ago, unless God stayed along to say, hi, this is me, I created you all. What accounts, so this is from BBC. In Hinduism, the universe is millions of years old. In line with the Hindu belief in reincarnation, the universe we live in is not the first or indeed the last universe. For Hindus, the universe was created by Brahma, the creator who made the universe out of himself. After Brahma created the world, it is the power of Vishnu which preserves the world and human beings. As part of the cycle of birth, life and death, it is Shiva who will ultimately destroy the universe. This is not necessarily as bad as it might sound because it allows Brahma to start the process of creation all over again. Examples of how the origin of the universe are explained in Hinduism include a lotus flower grew from the Lord Vishnu's navel and Brahma sitting on it. Brahma separated the flower into three parts, the heaven, the earth and the sky. Out of loneliness, Brahma split himself into two to create a male and a female. From this male and female, all beings were created. It's a bit similar to the Adam and Eve there. Another story makes reference to life coming from a cracking of an enormous egg, which is the life from which the universe is born. The hymn of creation from the Rig Veda concludes that nobody knows how the universe came to being, and even questions whether Brahman knows. Some Hindu texts offer a more specific explanation based on the evolution of primary elements from a single source. Okay, interesting. I don't know if it will be worth doing Sikh, because Sikh is a derivative of Islam, but maybe there is a difference. Let's check. The Guru Granth Sahib gives little detail about the origin of the universe, although it makes it very clear that the universe was created by Wahguru. Before creation, only Wahguru existed, and he created the universe with a single word, obviously same as the Kun. No one knows the date, season, or year of creation. Okay. Any more? There is no creation story in the Sikh tradition. Guru Nanak states that as no one was present when creation occurred, no one exactly knows what took place. Yeah, that makes sense. So it says from Guru Granth Sahib, what was that time and what was that moment? What was that day and what was that date? What was that season and what was that month when the universe was created? The Pandits, the religious scholars, cannot find that time, even if it is written in the Purans. That time is not known to the Qazis who study the Quran. The day and the date are not known to the yogis, nor is the month or the seasons, only which created creation only that knows. Yeah, that's interesting. What other religions are there? Hindu, Sikh, obviously Jews is the same as Christian. What's the one? Buddhists. Let's see what Buddhist creation story is. Okay, let's see. Do we have an answer? According to Buddhistologist Richard Hayes, the early Buddhist Nikaya literature treats the question of the existence of Creator, God, primarily from either an epistemological point of view or a moral point of view. Okay, so it doesn't know the count between two Brahims. Okay. Let's see if I can find another one somewhere. Was that Wikipedia? Buddhism has no creator God to explain the origin of the universe. Instead, it teaches that everything depends on everything else. Present events are caused by past events and become the cause of future events. Yeah, well, that's a good one in the sense that works with how we see today, isn't it? We know past, cause and effect. Yeah, I suppose the thing is we're never going to know, is it? It just interested me that there are so many different creation... What if I put the oldest existing creation story? That says the Enuma Elish is considered the oldest written creation story, perhaps from the 2nd millennium BC. The epic was recited or reenacted in the annual New Year's events as it is recorded in Seleucid era documents. Do we have anywhere? What is the myth? Okay. It's also known as the Chelin account of Genesis. Where is it? Okay. The ancient city of Babylonia. Enuma Elish refers to the Babylonian creation epic. Babylonia was a small city-state in the ancient Mesopotamian Empire from the 3rd millennium BC through to the 2nd century AD. The city-state was known for their advances in mathematics, astronomy, architecture and literature. It was also famous for its beauty and its divine laws. Along with the divine laws was their practice of religion, which was marked by multiple gods, primordial beings, demigods, heroes, and even spirits and monsters. Does it have the creation story? The Enuma Elish is composed of close to 1,000 lines of cuneiform, script that has often been compared with the Old Testament creation story in Genesis 1. The story features a great battle between gods Marduk and Tiamat that result in the creation of the earth and mankind. The storm god Marduk is ultimately declared a champion, which enables him to rule over other gods and become the chief god in Babylonian religion. Marduk uses Tiamat's body to form the sky and the earth. He forms the great Mesopotamian rivers, the Euphrates and the Tigris, from the tears in his eyes. Finally, he forms mankind from the blood of Tiamat's son and spouse Kingu in order for them to serve the gods. What about Greek creation story? The Greek creation story. The ancient Greeks believed that in the beginning the world was in a state of nothingness, which they call chaos. Suddenly from light came Gaia, Mother Earth, and from her came Uranus, the sky, along with other gods called primordials, like Pontus, the primordial god of oceans. I guess because they believe in all these gods, isn't it? Thor and all that stuff. I don't know. It was quite interesting. It does interest me because it would be nice to know, why we're here. How did this all begin? But I guess it's probably a question we're never going to know unless whoever did create it, whether it is God or a being of some sort, whether it's a other human being or an alien being. But would we believe them anyway? If someone came down and said, I was doing a science experiment for my PhD on planet Zarb, and I thought, let me try and create a species and see how they would do. And you are that, a bit like Douglas Adams is, the mice creating humans. So I don't know. We wouldn't believe them, would we? How would you believe them unless they could actually show you, look, here, I'm going to create another planet right next to you and create men and women. And there you go. There's my proof. If it was that easy to do. If it's God, unless he comes with a beam of light and has, I don't know, how would we believe him? because we don't know what God looks like, what form he's in. He could be around us all the time. God could be light or air or the earth itself, or matter, and we wouldn't understand that, and we wouldn't believe it because we're expecting to see the man with a big beard, or because even though we know in the Bible it mentions the God being in different forms, whether it's a dove or a burning bush. Yeah, it's just interesting to know. It just interested me when I was looking at all these things, how many, there's a lot of similarities between them, but a lot of also differences between all of them. But it is strange how there's a lot that is very similar. So either each copied each other, which is of course a possibility, or there was an event. But the problem is the event, depending on who you ask, how old is this place that we found ourselves upon that we call Earth? Were men, I mean, even if, because the thing is, we all think, when we think creation, we all think of the Bible story, isn't it? Of how the order was. We don't know what order it was, whether man was at day one or before day one of the earth, whether we were from somewhere else, and whether we had the ability to write down or tell that story through generations, because that's the only way, because history, I think, show the research that's been done that men didn't write at the beginning. But did we talk? I suppose the thing is, if we go through Darwin, we were monkeys, then we turned into men, and yeah, that would mean we wouldn't have been able to write it down. If we weren't like the Darwin's theory and we were created in some form, were we able to speak from the very beginning? If we know ourselves, children aren't able to speak from the very beginning. So whatever happened, they may have not understood it, and whatever's been written down may be a child's view of what happened and not very accurate. And so therefore, yeah, we're probably never going to know how we were created or why until, well, if there is an afterlife. We may know then, when we die and we're presented before a figure or a being of whatever it is, and then we can ask, oh, you created, oh, can I go tell? No, I can't. Okay. But yeah, that's interesting. Please put if you don't know of any others, put yours down. Take it easy. God bless and peace.